On this week's episode, we look at a collection that was gifted to me. Let's go check it out. Hey, what's up, nerds? Welcome to this week's episode of Nerdistic Tendencies. I am your host, Ray Hale. Don't forget to check me out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, where we update throughout the week. On top of that, we are doing weekly giveaways, free comics on TikTok, so check us out. A couple of weeks ago, Dungeon Rave on Facebook reached out to me and let me know that he had a collection of comic books he was looking to offload. After a little back and forth, it took me a while, because I'm a little slow, to realize that it was TJ Lanier that was reaching out to me. For the past several years, I actually have been off social media and didn't get back into social media until I started up this channel. So it had been years since I spoke to TJ. Now TJ, we're essentially family. The Lanier family and the Hale and Kelly families, we used to be real close. We used to do a lot of different things together. We used to go camping and canoeing and all sorts of stuff, picnics, all sorts of stuff. We were very close. The families were very close. Now, naturally, over time, life gets in the way, and all your close associations, you get further and further apart from them. So one of the things that I'm thankful because of this channel, I've actually got to reconnect with some of these people. So I requested TJ to send some pics so I can try and figure out exactly what's in this collection, how big the collection is, and how much he might be looking for the collection. Turns out, after some back and forth, TJ wasn't interested in any money for the collection. In fact, it was comic books that he had collected a little when he was a kid, and comic books that came from his uncle Gary, who has since passed away as well. Just so happens my wife and daughter were heading out for a weekend trip to New Jersey, so my daughter was able to stop by and pick up the collection. So after 600 miles of travel, the box of comic books ended up in my hands. So this week it's all about going through the process of assessing the collection, pull them out of their bags and boards, rebagging them, reboarding them, and then cataloging them into my collection and doing the lookup, searching for keys. So it's quite a process. Now in this collection, there was 201 comic books that has now been added to my collection. So I was very happy about that, and we have some really cool keys. First, here's just a little video of some of the work that went into getting this collection together.
light that you see stayed within your mind, deep into the darkness of the
So this collection was really cool. There was a lot of stuff in here that I didn't have, which was really nice. And when you got a collection of mine, I have over 6,500 comic books. So when you get a big lot in of new books, it's very exciting. So in this particular case, I was able to pull the box out, had to pull everything out of the box. Now this box, wasn't a comic book box. Not all the comics were bagged and boarded. It was a collection of a kid in his early teens. So, you know, some of the comic books weren't in great shape, but there were a lot of comics that were in really nice shape, thanks to the bags and boards. So when adding a new collection, the process actually takes a while. You have to pull everything out of the box. You have to start to organize it. You're alphabetizing them, you're bagging, you're boarding the comic books. The process takes a while. Probably the whole process for this, because I'm a crazy OCD freak, probably took about 6 hours. And again, that's organizing, bagging, boarding, removing the old bags and boards, entering them into my collection app, and then researching each issue for keys, and then notating those keys. So, like I said, it's a project. So 201 comic books. Let's not waste any more time. Let's just dig into it. This is what I got. So we have lots of books to go through this week, so let's get right to it. First book, we'll go through the DC and indie books first. This is The Adventures of the Outsiders, issue number 34. Outsiders, issue number 36. 37. Next, we have Anarchy, number 1. We have a huge Animal Man run, so we're going to go through these. This first one is a key. Animal Man number 23. This is the first appearance of Sunshine Superman. Animal Man number 27. 28. 29. 30. 31. 35. 37, 39, 41, 57, 58, 59, 62, 63, 64, 66, 67, yep, they just keep on coming, 68, 69, 70, 73, 78, 79, 81, and last one, 82. I have never read Animal Man. In fact, I never really heard of him until I got this collection, but pretty huge run there, and I'm looking forward to checking it out. Should be pretty cool. This next one is a key. First appearance of Nuada and Aquaman's new costume. This is a 4-issue Aquaman miniseries. So that's pretty cool. I got issue 1, 2, 3, and 4. So can't wait to read that. I don't even recall ever reading an Aquaman comic book, to be honest with you. But willing to check it out, see what it is, see what it's like, see what is the big deal about the man who talks to the fishes. Next we have Batman Batgirl, issue number 1. We have a Batman comic book, number 558. So this one's interesting. This one is called Batman, Death of the Innocents, The Horror of Landmines. So this apparently is a thing. It's an anti-landmines Batman comic book. So that's a thing. So I kind of briefly checked it out. I didn't read it, but it's interesting. Willing to check that out, see what the deal is on that. But I didn't know Batman was a anti-landmine superhero. But there you go. We got some issues of Batman and the Outsiders, number 25, 26, 28, 29, 30. It's cool. Got a couple of Black Orchid comic books. Here's Black Orchid number 1 and number 3. We have a Catwoman comic book, number 64. This next one is a Dark Horse comic book, Conan the Cimmerian, issue number 7. Now this was added to the collection by one of TJ's friends, Ryan. So big shout out to Ryan. Thanks for the book. We got Detective Comics, number 726. This next one's pretty cool. It's a key. Flash number 142. It is the wedding of Wally West and Linda Park. That is a key. That's kind of cool. I wasn't expecting that. Some of these comic books were in fantastic condition. Some of these comic books not so great condition. But you know, my thing is I'm worried less because I read the books. I'm not a collector, so I'm not always looking for the near mint copies of everything. For me, my standard essentially is have the comic book be intact with the cover. So some of these are in not so great condition, but still pretty cool to have them. Here's Green Lantern, Emerald Dawn 2, issue number 1. And issue number 2. From another Green Lantern series, we have Green Lantern number 9. That's Guy Gardner Green Lantern. Issue number 11. And issue number 43. Dark Horse comic here, Gunsmith Cats. I never even heard of this comic. But that's what's cool about collecting and getting some of these collections. You get stuff that you never even heard of or didn't even know existed. So that's pretty interesting. This next one I'm really curious about. So this is Superman 25. It is a third printing. This book is not a key. And I can't imagine anything going on with Superman at the time that would require this book to get a third printing. Did some research online, couldn't find anything. So it's a bit of a mystery. So anybody watching this video knows why this particular issue got a third printing, please let me know. So typically the way it works is the comic book companies will notify the manufacturer exactly how many copies of a particular book they get. So, so let's just say DC says, for this copy of Superman, I want 200,000 copies printed. So the copies get printed, they get shipped to the stores, and if it sells quickly and requires an additional run, they'll order some more and typically kind of change the artwork a little bit and have a second printing. If that printing gets sold out, they may do a third printing. Like I said, you can see in certain books that may require it, like especially for DC, Death of Superman had multiple prints on their copies because at the time it was a huge deal. A lot of people were collecting, speculation on the books. You know, people in the early 90s with the comic boom thought that they can buy a bunch of comics, hold on to them for 10 years and be a millionaire. That's not the way it works. So, like I said, for the life of me, I can't figure out how this comic book got a third printing. But it's really cool. I know a lot of people don't collect second and third prints, but I kind of like them. I think they're pretty cool. There's certainly not as widely available for some of these. So, like I said, to find a third printing of this is just weird. I'd like to get some more information on it. I just, at the time of making this video, I couldn't get any additional information. So next book we have is Adventures of Superman number 502. This is during the reign of Superman. Adventures of Superman 560. Now I showed a copy, another issue in this series. This is the John Byrne miniseries of Man of Steel. Issue number 5. I'm a huge John Byrne fan, so I was real happy to get this. This book is actually in really good shape. I really want to get the other issues of this series so I can read it. If for anything, I do like Superman, but I'm a John Byrne nut. So if anything, just to complete the collection and actually get to read it. We have DC Comics Presents Superman and Superboy number 14. Number 61. So these would have come from Gary's collection. Anything that you see here from the 70s and early 80s, I would assume came from Gary's collection. So these are really cool. This is a book from 1970. Superman's pal, Jimmy Olsen. That is really cool. Some of this old DC stuff is really cool. Kind of hokey, but even cringy at some points, but that's kind of the stuff that I like too. So some more simplistic storytelling. You know the good guy, you know who the bad guy is. It's not very political. It just is simple storytelling. So that's really cool. I'm glad I got that. This one, Johnny Quest, Dark Horse comic number 2. I was never a Johnny Quest fan, but I got one now. How about this one? The Land of Oz, Arrow Comics, issue number 8. This next one, I was kind of surprised about, TJ, but not surprised. This is Lady Death Lingerie number 1. So essentially, this was a thing in the 90s. Marvel is just as guilty of it. They had their swimsuit issues. More or less, it is scantily clad, well-endowed comic book women dressed and looking very sexy and provocative. So, interesting. Wasn't anticipating this one, but still was kind of a cool grab. This next one, I remember when this came out. This is from Image Comics, Max #1. This is a first print. It's the first appearance of Max. That's why it's a key. And then we have, this one's a key. First appearance of Hightower, Artemis Delphi. This is Wildcats Trilogy #1. So that takes care of all of the DC, Image, and indie comics from this collection. Next, what we have is all Marvel, and there's some really cool stuff. Alright, so let's just jump right into it. This first one is a huge key, and is really surprised that this was in it. It's the first solo Morbius story. It is the first appearance of Damon. It is the first appearance of Tara O'Gord, who apparently is a psychic vampire and daughter of Starhawk. This would have been in Gary's collection. Adventure into Fear #20 with Morbius, the living vampire. Now, there's actually a Morbius movie coming out. I believe it's starring Jared Leto. This was big. This is a really big key. So I was really surprised to find this in this lot of comics. But you'll see there's a couple more books like this. So you never know what you're going to get when you get a collection. Next, we're going to run through some Avengers books. This is the first appearance of the Council of Cross-Time Kangs. Avengers number 267. Avengers number 269. Avengers 280. Avengers 281. Alright, Avengers 288. This is the first team appearance of Heavy Metal. It is Super Adaptoid, Awesome Android, Machine Man, Sentry, and Tess 1. Beautiful copy. Avengers 288. That is really, really cool. And for those of you who don't know, that's the Black Knight. He's going to be, he's played by Kit Harington in the Eternals movie coming out. And as you've seen in WandaVision, that's Monica Rambeau. She at one time was a Captain Marvel. So, pretty cool book to get. One I didn't have, so it was nice to get that in the collection. Avengers 340. Avengers 370. This is a key. It is the first appearance of Delta Force. Rounding out the Avengers is Avengers 373. Next, we have a Cable book. This is Cable, number 29. Next one is a key. Deathlock, number 1. This is the first solo Deathlock title. So that's really cool. Next, we have Deathlock number 5. This one's pretty cool. From the early 80s, 1982, I believe. That's Doctor Strange Special Edition number 1. I like this old Doctor Strange stuff. It's weird. Actually, I should say it's strange. Waka, waka, waka. So, all this stuff is really cool. I didn't know this book was out there, but like I said, now it's in my collection. This next one is a key. First appearance of Forceworks. Spider-Woman, Wonder Man, U.S. Agent, Iron Man, Scarlet Witch. That's pretty cool. We got Gambit number 2. Now we're into some cool stuff. Older books. Ghostwriter number 26. Ghostwriter number 45. As you can see, this copy's a bit more beat up. Still pretty cool. Ghostwriter 65. Now from another volume of Ghostwriter. This next one is a key. Pretty cool. Didn't know this until I was researching it. Ghostwriter number 15. This is actually the first glow-in-the-dark cover for a comic book. Neat, right? So that's pretty cool. The first glow-in-the-dark cover on a comic book. Huh. I want to shut the lights off. I can't do that now. There's no sense. You can't see anything. But that's pretty cool. That is really cool. We got Ghostwriter number 18. Ghostwriter 25. Ghostwriter 34. These are in really good condition. Ghostwriter 35. And rounding out Ghostwriter is Ghostwriter 62. Very happy with those books. Those are really cool books. Didn't read a lot of Ghostwriter when I was a collector when I was a kid, but have a new. I have more of an appreciation for them now. So I know I keep saying it, but that's really cool. This next batch, G.I. Joe number 85, Cool Storm Shadow cover. That's pretty cool. A little beat up, but still it's a good reader copy. Newsstand. That's another thing about this collection. So even though some of these books I already had, I may have had a direct edition, to find newsstand copies of some of these books to add to my collection was really cool. Bit harder to get the newsstand editions of some of these comics. And certainly the value of a newsstand is a little bit more, just based on the quantity that was available at the time. So that's pretty cool. Another G.I. Joe. We got a nice G.I. Joe run here. G.I. Joe number 139. This one is with the Transformers. Okay. Nice Special Missions run here. G.I. Joe Special Missions number 2. Number 7. Number 8, number 9, number 11, number 19. Cool. I was a huge G.I. Joe nut when I was a kid. Certainly had, I don't know, a million G.I. Joes in some of the vehicles. Had a lot of good days hanging out with my G.I. Joes, blowing up stuff and taking out Cobra. So for years, I never really read the comic books, but for years I read about how much the comic books were different from the cartoons. So I really would like to complete at least the initial G.I. Joe run and dive into them. A lot of good things about this, so that's pretty cool. This next one I already have, but it's still pretty cool. I always thought this was pretty cool. So this is a comic book called Heroes for Hope, starring the X-Men. All proceeds from the comic book are being donated to famine relief and recovery in Africa. So around this time, you had a lot of the We Are the World, USA for Africa, and other charities that were raising money for famine relief in Africa, which is great because millions of dollars were generated for a good cause. Unfortunately, none of the money that was sent over there actually went to famine relief. You know, once it got sent over there, basically a lot of the warlords in the area and poor government basically absorbed the money and the relief that went with it. So that's unfortunate. But you had millions of people whose heart was in a good place, trying to make things better for other people. Kind of like superheroes. So that's not a bad deal. The other cool thing about this is the artwork. This cover art is done by Arthur Adams. He did some of the best covers in the 80s. You really should check out some of his X-Men run on X-Men Classic. Especially that first one, issue number 1. The artwork is amazing. It's one of my all-time favorite covers. But I really like the Arthur Adams art. Just different style. Very detailed style. It's just really, really cool. It's what I like. Got some Iron Man here. This is the first cameo appearance of Obadiah Stane. Kind of a big deal. You saw Obadiah Stane in the first Iron Man movie. This is actually a beautiful copy. This is much better than the copy I bought in the store. Very happy to get this. Plus, the copy that I had of this one, I believe, was a newsstand. This is a direct edition, so that's really cool. Iron Man number 294. This one is really, really cool. Check this out. So, this is Fantastic Four starring in Marvel Adventures number 9. Now, there's nothing really special about this comic book. This Marvel Adventures run was designed for children. The artwork had more of an animation style, a little less violent, but it was really geared to children that were buying comic books at the time, especially at the time as comic books got more violent. There was a thought, at least Marvel put the thought into, okay, well, we don't want to alienate younger kids, the 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds that are reading these books. So they did come out with some books, and Marvel ended up doing this, and DC have done this too, for that group of audience. So that's really cool. What is cool about this is, as I was inspecting it, this popped out of the book. Just like that. I've never seen one of these, but this is an actual letter from Marvel Comics, okay? So it says, "Hey Marvel fans, I've got some good news and some bad news. First, the bad news. Casper and Friends is no longer being published. The good news is that your subscription will be transferred to Marvel Adventures. Now you can follow the exciting adventures of Marvel's greatest heroes presented in the popular animated style. These thrilling stories are great for all ages. Face it, true believer, you definitely hit the jackpot. If you currently have a subscription to Marvel Adventures, it will extend accordingly. Enjoy, your friends at Marvel," with a cool little picture of Spiderman at the bottom. So, what is the deal with the letter? So, at one point in time, you used to be able to contact Marvel directly, usually through, an ad in your comic book, and pay for a subscription to your favorite Marvel comic books, and they'd get mailed directly to your house. Not every area at the time had a lot of comic book shops. And at this point in time, buying stuff off the newsstand in your local grocery store was becoming more and more difficult because grocery stores and other places weren't selling as many comic books anymore. So this letter would have been sent with this comic book for someone who had subscribed to either Casper and Friends and Marvel Adventures. So that's pretty cool. I don't think, because this is the only issue of Marvel Adventures in this collection, I don't think TJ would have had a subscription. So wherever he got this comic book, at one point in time, this comic book was owned by a subscriber. I don't know, it may not be a big deal to some of you, but I just think that it's really, really cool. It's history of a comic book. You never know where these books, the previous owners of these books, and what their stories are. So it's pretty cool to see stuff like that. So, like I said, that's pretty cool. We're going to go into a Marvel Comics Presents run. This is number 3. This is number 9. Number 27. 28. 31. This actually is a really good run that I'm currently collecting. It has multiple stories in it. Usually one of them is a Wolverine story, but you get all sorts of stories from lesser known characters too. There actually was a run with Man-Thing in here as well. And they also introduced new characters too. So it's a pretty good run. If you haven't read any of them, I advise you to check it out. Okay, here is Micronauts number 9. First appearance of Celicia. It's a key. I haven't read any of these, so I'm sure the character may be important, maybe not. But it is a key nonetheless, so I'm going to mark it as such. I wanted to check out this Micronauts run. I haven't collected all of them yet. So the fact that I got a bunch in here is pretty damn cool. That's number 9. We got number 14. Number 15 is a key. It's the death of Microtron. This one's guest starring the Fantastic Four. Number 19. Number 22. 24. And 26. Cool. Next we have The Mighty Thor, issue 431. 433, 434, and 435. Pretty cool. Digging it. Namor the Submariner, number 8. Another run that I'm trying to collect. Rumor is Namor is going to play a big factor in the upcoming Black Panther movie. So if the rumors are true, that's going to be awesome. Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. number 6. Nova number 1. Cool. Punisher number 4. This is a key. This is the first appearance of Microchip. He's a tech guy that would help out the Punisher. So he was in the first run of Punisher. It's pretty cool. We'll spotlight more of him down the road. We got Punisher Warzone number 5. Number 7 is a key. It is the first appearance of Lynn Michaels. Lynn Michaels later on in the Punisher run temporarily became the Punisher. I haven't read any of those books yet, so it's kind of cool that this is her first appearance. Quasar number 1. This is a key. It's the first solo book for Quasar. So that's pretty cool. This is funny. I used to watch these shows all the time. The Ren and Stimpy Show. War is Heck. This is issue number 18 and 19. Never read any of the books, but I would guess that it is just as stupid and great as the show. But we'll see. You've seen a lot of these books in my previous videos, so I got a few more of these. Savage She-Hulk number 24. Plus Sensational She-Hulk number 8. This is the John Byrne run that I'm looking to complete. And number 9. Cool. Now this next one I actually got a chuckle at. This is Shogun Warriors number 7. So when I go to Bell Book and Comic, I'm always going through the bronze, silver and bronze age stuff. And this is a run that's in there. It's not very big. It's based off of a toy line in the late 70s, early 80s. I never had them. Didn't know that the Shogun Warriors existed, but every time I go through there, I was like, I should check these out. And I never get them. But now I got one, so I'll have to collect the rest of them. Silver Surfer comic. This is Silver Surfer number 60. Spider-Girl number 1. Now, I actually got excited when I saw this, thinking that this was going to be a huge book. But it turns out I had confused it with a What If issue where the first appearance of Spider-Girl was. So that is a big book, very expensive book. This one is not nearly as expensive, but still pretty cool to add to the collection. More Spider-Man books coming now. Sensational Spider-Man number 30. Spectacular Spider-Man number 261. This is Spectacular Spider-Man Annual number 64. So this is not my first copy of this book, which I'm glad because this particular book is sealed. But like I said, I like to read my books, so it's kind of cool to know that, okay, I got 2 copies in there that are sealed. I can open one and read one and still have a sealed one in my collection. So that's really cool. This one's really cool. Small little story on this. This is Spider-Man number 25. Again, Phoenix! Behold the Fury of Spider-Phoenix. First time I read this issue, I had, some of you may remember, the old Macy's and JCPenney toy catalogs, especially around Christmas. Well, I had asked, they sold comic book bundles in there. And this was one of the books that I got in one of those bundles, and I always remembered it. What I didn't realize when I got the bundles is all the books were a second print. Wish I had those books now, but they were all basically second print run books that they did for these bundles that they used to sell at these department stores. So it's pretty cool. A little bit of backstory on that particular issue. I didn't have this one in my collection. I have it back in my collection now, so that's really cool. Plus, I like Excalibur. I'm collecting that run too. So Spider-Man and Excalibur in the same issue with the Phoenix is awesome. This is from the same run of Spider-Man. This is number 38. I actually have 2 copies of this book. This is Marvel Age Spider-Man. 2 copies of it. It was a giveaway comic. You know, it's mostly for kids. Part of a Reading is Fundamental campaign, so it was a giveaway, I guess, to schools and such. So may have been in certain comic book stores for like before they had free comic book day. This would have been a giveaway just to give to kids, encourage reading. So that's pretty cool. This next one is really cool. Don't have it. Used to have it when I was a kid. Minor key. It is Spider-Man 2099. Issue number 1. It's the first appearance of Spider-Man 2099. So I never really got into the 2099 series. I just wasn't a big fan of it, but I'd like to check them all out now. Didn't have any for the Spider-Man run. I have a bunch of X-Men and Ravage, and I think I completed the Hulk 2099 run. So eventually at some point I'll get to read those and check out the stories because Spider-Man 2099 ended up becoming very popular. So some more G.I. Joes. This is Tales of G.I. Joe. Now this is a reprint run of older G.I. Joe issues. So these are pretty cool. So this is issue number 11, 13, 14, 15. Again, it's a reprint book. It's older issues of the first G.I. Joe series. And as you've seen from my other videos, I like me a good reprint book. I don't mind them. They're usually really inexpensive. And especially if you can read the reprints and pay $1 for them instead of $5 to $25 or more for the original issues. I like that because I don't have a whole lot of money to dump on comic books. So if I'm really interested in a run, I wouldn't mind checking out a reprint. Even if I'm interested in something, I'll check out a reprint run over the original run just to get an idea of how the story is. You know, check out the artwork. So this is The Thing, issue number 33. This is the death of Titania. It is a key. Thor Court number 3. And Thunderstrike, issue 1. There was actually 2 copies of this in the box, but as I'm going through and pulling it, the cover is coming off of the other one. So that was not good. Still have more to go through. So let's just keep this going. Okay, last batch, and we're going to start off with something really cool. This is a big key. Old Tomb of Dracula book, number 18. This is the first issue in a two-part series. That's the first battle between Dracula and Werewolf by Night. It's rumored that these characters are going to be making their way into the MCU, so the value of this book can go up. Not a terrible copy, but still, this is a pricey book. So if I were to go to a store and buy it, this is probably a $50 book right here. So I was really excited to see that. Some of the goofy ones. This is Toxic Avenger, number 5. Toxic Avenger is the first superhero from New Jersey. I don't know if anybody's ever seen the original movies. Apparently they got a new one that they're going to be making. They're really odd, real campy, but kind of funny. So if you haven't seen them, check them out. Now we're going to go on a huge X-Men run. And we got some cool stuff coming up here. Uncanny X-Men number 161. It is a key. It is the origin of Magneto. So that's pretty cool. Uncanny X-Men number 167. This is cool. This is Uncanny X-Men 210. It is a key. It is the first appearance of the Marauders. Although Sabretooth is not included in it, but this actually kicks off the Mutant Massacre. And if you haven't read the Mutant Massacre, you're missing out. It's a huge deal in the comic book, especially the X-Men books. So if you haven't read it, make sure you check it out. It's required reading for X-Men fans. Uncanny X-Men number 240. Part of the Inferno storyline, which is another good one. This is another key. This is the debut of Psylocke as Lady Mandarin. This is Uncanny X-Men 257. It's also the first appearance of Kawanin. So this gets really convoluted. So the first time you saw, for a couple of years, Psylocke in the comic books was a white chick from England, whose brother was Captain Britain. And then, because of the Fall of the Mutants storyline, you know, the X-Men had died. It's this whole big thing. It's a very convoluted story, but because of her trip through the Siege Imperialis, she comes back in... Her mind is transferred into a Japanese assassin. There's a lot more to it, but it's very convoluted. But still, I wasn't a big fan of the original Psylocke. I was a big fan of hers once she came back as a Japanese assassin. We have Uncanny X-Men 285, again another key. It is the first appearance of Mikhail Rasputin, the brother of Colossus in magic. Uncanny X-Men 291. Uncanny X-Men 295. Now this is the Executioner song. Yes, I have all of these, and yes, I have opened all of these. They all came polybagged with a trading card in it. So now I get to add these back into my collection. So I have an open copy and a sealed copy, so that's cool. Uncanny X-Men number 299. This is the first appearance of Graydon Creed. It is the son of Sabretooth. Uncanny X-Men number 300. First appearance of Amelia Vaught. It is also the introduction to the Legacy virus. Uncanny X-Men number 305. It's a key. First appearance of the Phalanx. Uncanny X-Men number 306. Cameron Hodge. Alright, this one's cool. So, this is Uncanny X-Men Annual number 10. This is where Longshot joins the X-Men. And it is also the first appearance of the X-Babies. Yep, that's a thing. Alright, this next batch is really cool because these are all really hot books. Venom, Lethal Protector number 1. Anything Venom is hot. There was just a huge Venom storyline in the books. Also, this is a key. It happens to be his first solo title. Like I said, hot book. It's got the cool foil cover. I had this when I was a kid, bought it off the newsstand at my local comic book store. And, obviously lost my collection many times since then. But to go and buy this book, I'm not paying $2.95 for it anymore. Probably looking around $20, $30 for this particular book. Like I said, very hot. The first full appearance of Phage, Agony, Riot, and Lasher. This is Venom Lethal Protector number 5. Venom Lethal Protector number 6. Again, all these Venom books are hot. At the very least, you're talking $10 a book. Venom, The Madness, Part 1 of 3, another mini-series. This one is with the Juggernaut. So there's number 1 and number 2. Another Venom book here. This is Venom, Sinner Takes All, issue number 4. Venom is extremely hot. Here's Wolverine, number 18. Didn't have that one in my collection. Wolverine, number 50. Pretty cool. Now we're getting into a big X-Factor run here, okay? X-Factor 27. X-Factor 46. X-Factor 56. X-Factor number 60, part of the Extinction Agenda event, which is pretty cool. This next one is a key. X-Factor number 67 is the first appearance of Shinobi Shaw. X-Factor number 69, part of the Muir Island saga. Love this story. Doesn't get enough credit, but it is a great story. It's a crossover story between the other X-Men titles. Really cool. Actually, it would be just the 2 at this point in time. I think it was just Uncanny X-Men and X-Factor. But anyway, huge fan of this X-Factor run. Now, post Muir Island saga, we have a new team. So we have X-Factor 72, X-Factor 76, X-Factor 85, again polybagged. I now have sealed copies. X-Factor number 86. Okay, so this is the last batch of books. X-Factor number 87. This is one of my all-time favorite comic books. This is immediately following the events of the Executioner song. This is immediately following the events of Executioner song. This is because at this point in time in the books, X-Factor is actually a government outfit. So it is required that they, because of the stress of what took place in the Executioner song, they have to go see a shrink. So you want to learn more about why these, you want to learn a little bit more about what makes these characters ticks. You want to learn more about what makes these characters tick. Havoc, Wolfsbane, Polaris, Strong Guy, Multiple Man, and Quicksilver. This story is all character. There's no fighting. There are no bad guys. It's just sitting down with a therapist trying to individually work out their problems and deal with the stress of this superhero life. It is fantastic. I encourage you to read this book. More here. We got X-Factor number 92. X-Factor number 93. X-Factor 94. X-Factor 100. Now, so this is the collector's edition of this book. This is basically where I stopped collecting X-Factor when I was a kid. About this time is when I got out of collecting. Big mistake. But there actually is a newsstand edition. But interesting story about this book is, so as I was collecting X-Factor, I went to a store that had a bunch of dollar books and pulled this issue out and didn't realize till I got home that the issue was signed by the cover artist. And I went and looked it up, and the autograph was legit. So you never know what you're going to find in these books, especially a dollar bin. I've seen other videos out there. You'd be surprised. You find autographed copies of books. It's really cool. It's just a little story about the book, but this actually is a really good issue too. Obviously, you can see it is the death of Multiple Man. Okay, here's another miniseries here. This one is weird. Didn't know this, but this is a key. It's the first appearance of a group known as Those Who Sit Above in the Shadows. It apparently is some shadow gods, but this is X-Men and Alpha Flight 1 and X-Men and Alpha Flight 2. This is a 2-issue miniseries. Now we have a classic X-Men run here. A lot of Arthur Adams artwork, so check this out. Classic X-Men number 4. Again, reprints of all Uncanny X-Men books. Number 5. Number 28. Number 29. Cool arcade story. Now we get some Phoenix Saga. 35. 36. That's really cool. Love these books. Again, this is Dark Phoenix Saga. You've seen my videos on that. Phoenix! I love this stuff. And I love this classic X-Men run because not only does it have... So it has the original story reprinted, sometimes altered, my friends, with different panels making minor tweaks to the story. But the best thing about these books is they usually had a backup story, something new and original added to the book. A lot of times it's no big deal, but it offers additional character development for the characters that you're reading about in these books and helps fill holes in certain stories. So more context to the stories that you're reading. This next set of books is really cool, so check these out. This is, the next 4 books were all exclusives to Pizza Hut. And these first 3 of them are sealed. X-Men number 1, X-Men number 2, X-Men number 3, and X-Men number 4. Now these were Pizza Hut exclusives. At the time, the X-Men animated series was a huge hit. The X-Men comic books were selling millions a month. In fact, the highest selling comic book is X-Men number 1. The second volume, I believe is what you would call it. I think that sold like 12 million copies. Again, it was a speculation boom in the early 90s, but still, these are pretty cool. I didn't know Pizza Hut had X-Men comic books, but I've got the whole set now. Thanks, TJ. Speaking of X-Men number 1, this is an issue. So there was 5 or 6 different covers. This is the highest selling comic book of all time. Is it worth anything? Absolutely not. You can find them in your dollar bin everywhere. You cannot sell like 9 to 12 million issues of a book and have it retain value. Remember, big part of the value is the scarcity of the issue, and people didn't understand that in the early 90s with the big comics boom, that the more people were buying, the more they were going to print, the more they were going to sell, and which made the potential values of these comic books hit the floor. While they initially spiked because the demand, the market will correct itself. So unfortunately, when you basically get a bowl of soup with this comic book now. It's going to be in any dollar bin. One of the multiple covers. They might even give them out at homeless shelters. I don't know. Like I said, there's like 12 million copies of this book floating around. So, easy to get. What's cool about this one is I just didn't have this variation of the cover. Remember, there was 5 or 6 different covers for this book. So that's cool for my collection. X-Men number 9. This is Wolverine versus Ghostwriter. And again, another Executioner Song comic book. This is X-Men number 14. Again, I have an open copy. It's nice to have a sealed copy. So that was a pretty extensive collection. TJ, thank you very much for all of these books. It's really cool. It's really cool that knowing that all of these books were owned by either you or Gary, and they've now been folded into my collection. I greatly appreciate you basically just gifting me this collection. A lot of cool stuff in here. Thank you very much. So on top of the 201 comic books I just showed you, this is a stack of comics that aren't going to make the collection. Comics with the covers ripped off, too damaged, water damage, stuff like that. You know, things happen. It wasn't stored in a comic book box. It was stored in just a regular box. So over the years, things happen, things move around, stuff gets spilled. So unfortunately, these comic books won't make it. On top of the 201 comic books and the comic books that were damaged in the collection, I also received a couple of piles of Marvel cards, Marvel trading cards. I don't know much about the Marvel cards, so it requires a little bit more research on them. So that will be for another time and another video. So one of the biggest reasons TJ gifted me this collection is he saw some of the videos on my channel. He knows how passionate I am about the books, so he wanted the books to go to a good home. One of the things that we discussed over the phone was how much we love our respective nerd communities. He is a huge gamer and loves Dungeons and Dragons. In fact, he's got his own, I don't know, you can call it clan, regulars that he gets together with weekly, you know, to play Dungeons and Dragons. So at some point in time, we discussed later on in an episode down the road, we're going to get together, and we're going to get together with his crew and talk about their community and how much they love Dungeons and Dragons, because we are all one big happy nerd family. Thank you very much, TJ, for this collection. I appreciate that. Thank you for sending me pics of you and your beautiful daughter. Hope to see you again real soon. One of the cool things about this experience was knowing that some of these comic books used to belong to Gary Lanier. Gary Lanier was an awesome guy, and we lost him too soon in 2014. He was a great guy, super funny, always had a story for everything, could always make you smile, could always be a goofball, and could always light you up when you do something stupid, which, you know, with me, happened pretty regularly. One of the great things about Gary is he always took care of people. He always looked out for people. He's a man who served his country. He's also a guy that, when I was desperately in need of a paying gig to make my rent and take care of my family, he opened his door and gave me a job. And that was a big deal for me, because at the time I couldn't find anything, and Gary was right there. I didn't have to call him, he just reached out to me. I was always grateful and appreciative of that. One of the things after he passed, one of the things that I was real happy to do is at a later point in time return the favor. Gary's son, Alex, was looking for work, and I had the opportunity to hire him and bring him into the storeroom I was working at. Gary, like I said, was a super funny guy, and he's missed very much by a big family. He's got wonderful kids. They're doing fantastic. So to know that some of the stuff in my collection, like you saw in some of these books, is something that he, when he was younger, pulled off a rack and purchased, I think is really super cool. Thank you again, TJ, for this opportunity. I greatly appreciate it. This has been a really cool find, really cool add to my collection. If you are a Dungeons & Dragons nerd, go to Facebook. Check out Dungeon Rave. Tim is a super cool guy and would love for you to join his community. So check him out. So that's about all the time that we have this week. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to check us out on social media, where we have a lot of cool things throughout the week, not to mention all the giveaways. The last couple of weeks we gave away some cool comics. We'll have some more in the coming weeks to give away, so make sure you check that out if you're looking for free comics. So this past weekend was Father's Day, so a big happy Father's Day to all of those super nerd daddies out there. I myself am a father who has been blessed with 2 beautiful daughters who are pretty cool chicks. Also, I had the privilege of having a pretty cool dad myself. Looking back, it was my dad that was spending money to buy me comic books when I was a kid. It was my dad taking me to the movie theaters to see Superman, Batman, and all of the other nerdy crap that I got to watch. Sitting at home watching Star Trek movies with my dad. So much. It was my dad that, I don't know how he did it at the time, but managed to get all of these Death of Superman comic books for me when they were very difficult, at least in my area, to get a first print. I don't know how he did it, but he managed to do it, whether he stood in line or whatever, or paid a premium for them. So I've always been very appreciative of that. So happy Father's Day. Have a good one. We'll see you next week. On this week's episode, we got a collection to check out. Look, my boobs are sweating.
Boob sweat, boob sweat.
600 miles later, they're back in my hands. No, because they'd never been back, and they never were in my hands.
Can't be back. You keep doing this.
Yeah, because I talk with my hands. I have to do something with my hands. You can't just stand there, and you can't. You know, because when I talk,
Yeah.
You got the croup?
Yep.
And, you know, unfortunately, these can't be resuscitated. Oh, stupid.
What?
201 comic books in this collection. Super cool.
Bug juice.
Bug juice. Oh my god, did you hear that? I almost threw up.